After the flop of Pirates of the Caribbean 5, Salazar's Revenge, one of Hollywood's most popular writers is now supposed to save the movie. Flop may not be the right word though, because the fifth part earned $750 million at the box office. But the production of part 6 hasn't really progressed since the release of the last part. One factor is certainly the tremendously elaborate production of action scenes on the open sea. Moreover, Johnny Depp is not as popular as he was a few years ago. But the rescue of the film series is already in sight, and Craig Mazin is supposed to save the series from failure. With movies like Scary Movie 3, Identity Thief, and The Huntsman and the Ice Queen, he doesn't have the most promising filmography to show. But as the author of the series Chernobyl, twice crowned with the Emmy Award, he released one of the best series of the year. When Pirates of the Caribbean 6 will be seen on screen is not clear yet. A few days ago, the US channel HBO placed an order for a prequel to its successful series Game of Thrones. House of the Dragon will be the offshoot of the main series and will take place a good 300 years before the events of Game of Thrones. The length of the prequel will be 10 episodes and will be based on the book Fire and Blood by the author George R.R. Martin. The House Targaryen, to which also Dragonkin Daenerys belongs, shall be in the focus. Shortly before the announcement of HBO, several US media had reported that HBO was pursuing another project from Game of Thrones that would play thousands of years before the main story. And pilot with actress Naomi Watts was shot in Northern Ireland this year. However, rumors are spreading that this series has now been cancelled after all. The release date of House of the Dragon as well as the cast is not yet known. The Game of Thrones creators David Benioff and D.B. Weiss leave the planned Star Wars trilogy behind them. The simple reason? They just don't have time for it. Mainly responsible for this is a Netflix deal which they closed in August. They explained to Deadline, "We love Star Wars. When George Lucas built it, he built us too. Getting to talk about Star Wars with him and the current Star Wars team was the thrill of a lifetime, and we will always be indebted to the saga that changed everything." Lucasfilm boss Kathleen Kennedy is sure that this is not a farewell for life, because in her statement she explains that she hopes that the two incredible storytellers Benioff and Weiss will be brought on board on their further journey if they find time for Star Wars in their schedule. In about 2.5 years the trilogy should have started. Whether the release dates will be given to another project or not is not yet clear. The cinema future of Star Wars is still uncertain anyway, as at the moment the focus is more on contents like The Mandalorian and the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. The last movie of the series, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, will be released on December 20th, 2019. The haunted house horror genre will not only get a new movie, but also a whole film series as an addition. It's about a film project of the Hayes twin brothers, which is supposed to revolve around a well-known, real existing haunted house from New Orleans, namely the LaLaurie Mansion. Some stories revolve around it, but the probably best known is the following. The house belonged to the serial killer Delphine LaLaurie, who murdered dozens of slaves in her estate during the 19th century. When this was spread around, her house was burned down by an angry mob in 1834 and rebuilt 4 years later. In the meantime, there was a school and even luxury apartments inside. But it is said that the souls of the murdered slaves do not find peace and therefore haunt the property. A little fun fact on the side, even Nicolas Cage is said to have owned the property from 2007 to 2009. The Hayes brothers won't lack any additional ideas for the horror house, as they are two real specialists in haunted house horror. Their most famous project in recent times is certainly the Conjuring series, as whose inventors they are often called. Their next film, The Turning, will be released on 24th of January 2020. A release date for their latest project has not yet been set. Since the beginning of his career, Nicolas Cage has been known for crazy and slightly wacky projects. His most famous feature is probably exaggerated overacting, like in Vampire's Kiss or Mandy. Now his next project, Wallys Wonderland, is just around the corner. Here, Cage is supposed to play the caretaker of the amusement park of the same name, but who would have thought it? Sooner or later he of course discovers a dark secret that the park is hiding. To be more precise, the rides are supposed to come to life at night and try to satisfy their desire for blood. As a result, the caretaker has to kill one creature after the other by dawn to leave the grounds alive. What stands out most so far is the great praise that the script has received so far. The author is G.O. Parsons, who was only seen in small film roles until now. But his script is supposed to be so good that it is on the so-called Blood List, on which the best newcomer horror scripts of the year appear. Other Blood List movies include Bird Box and Eli. The choice of director Kevin Lewis, who only staged a few trashy B-movies many years ago, seems less impressive. He describes the upcoming film as a mixture of Clint Eastwood's Pale Rider and the 80s film Space Invaders. A release date for Wallys Wonderland has not yet been set.